Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura
Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda
Shri Radhe Gokananda Bhagwan ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we'll read the verse. You can read the verse, Gajendra ji.
Sure. Etavadeva jigyasham tattva jigyasulatmanah अन्वय व्यतिरेकाभ्याम यतश्चात् सर्वत्र सर्वदा. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search up for it up to this. In all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry, I think my internet got disconnected.
Oh, okay. So we can start with the, are you there now?
Yes, can you, yeah, you can hear.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yes, the revealed scriptures, correct.
Yeah,
So,
sorry, yeah. Yeah, we can start.
Okay, we can start. The revealed scriptures give directions directly to this end, which we've been speaking about before, which is the mystery of Krishna consciousness unlocked by the Guru's mercy. The revealed scriptures give directions directly to this end, but because the bewildered living entities are blinded by the glaring reflection in darkness, they are unable to sample. In the Bhagavad-Gita, the whole direction is targeted toward the personality of Godhead, Lord, Spiritual Master, in the line of Brahmaji, or the direct hearer, Arjuna. There are different distortions of the revealed knowledge by many unauthorized persons who just want to satisfy their own whims.
Madhuri?
Undoubtedly, the Bhagavad-Gita is accepted as one of the most brilliant stars in the horizon of the spiritual sky. Yet the interpretations of this great book of knowledge have so grossly been distorted that every student of the Bhagavad-Gita is still in the same darkness of glaring material reflections. Such students are hardly enlightened by the Bhagavad-Gita.
Parag?
In the Gita, practically the same instruction is imparted as in the 4 prime verses of the Bhagavatam. But due to wrong and fashionable interpretations by unauthorized persons, one cannot reach the ultimate conclusion. In the Bhagavad-Gita 18.61, it is clearly said, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriday des arjuna tistati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya.
No, go ahead.
Madhav Prabhu, are you hearing? You're not hearing the echo, right?
No,
No,
No echo.
we didn't hear a little bit of an echo, not too bad.
no.
Okay, yeah. Madhav Prabhu.
The Lord is situated in the heart of all living beings as Paramatma, and He is controlling all of them in the material world under the agency of His external energy. Therefore, it is clearly mentioned that the Lord is supreme controller, and that the living entities are controlled by the Lord. In the same Bhagavad-Gita, 1865, the Lord directs as follows: Man mana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evaisyasi satyaiste pratiyante priyosime.
Deva.
We should just read.
It is clear.
Gajendra,
Stop
Yes.
the hum.
Yeah.
stop back at home. So before we start the next paragraph, we want to stop just at that little section.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Do I read now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is clear from this verse of Bhagavad-Gita that the direction of the Lord is that one should be God-minded, a devotee of the Lord, a worshipper of the Lord, and must offer all obeisances unto Lord Krishna. By doing so, the devotee will undoubtedly go back to Godhead, back to home.
So I'm just going to ask one question about this paragraph. It talks about a big problem that people don't understand the Bhagavad Gita. And why don't people understand Bhagavad Gita in this age? What's the main reason they can't understand Bhagavad Gita? Do we lose Gajendra again?
No, I'm here, Prabhu. I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Okay, I didn't see you there. Okay. What's the main, in this paragraph, it talks about some problem, or maybe two problems. So what's the reason people can't understand Bhagavad Gita?
Because
in
it
this
is
age?
misinterpreted.
Yes, absolutely. Because it's misinterpreted by whom?
By the people who think they are smart.
Unauthorized
Yes.
By people who think they're smart, yes.
unauthorized people.
Yeah,
Yes.
unauthorized. It
Yes.
says that that there's unauthorized persons who want to satisfy their own whims, and
they're not on a
and they're not in something called a parampara,
disciplic succession.
which is a disciplic succession.
That transmits some
And
knowledge.
in our line, our succession goes back to who?
Begins with a B.
Lord
Close to
Brahma.
Brahma.
But Lord Brahma. And of course, Prabhupada includes Arjuna being a person also that we can see as an authorized hearer of the Bhagavatam, of the Bhagavad Gita.
Directly from
Yeah.
Krishna's lips.
So he's heard it directly from Krishna's lips. So if you don't hear from the right kind of person, you can't be enlightened. It says people who don't hear from a proper teacher, such students are hardly enlightened by the Bhagavad Gita because they're getting distorted views. Now, can we look at verse 1861, Gajendra?
Can you click on the red 1861?
Ishvara Sarvabhutanam.
Yes. Okay.
So this verse, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Ridesher Juna Tishtati Ramayan Sarvabhutani Yantra Rudani Mayaya. The translation is, the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated on a machine made of the material energy. It sounds like an echo there. This is Prabhupada's basic teachings. Who can tell one of Prabhupada's basic teachings just from this verse?
What are you referring to?
In this verse, basic teachings of a Bhagavad-Gita that Prabhupada always emphasized, that's mentioned in this verse. The Supreme Lord is situated, there's two actually. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated on a machine made of material energy.
Everything we do can be ultimately traced back to Krishna, because it's his energy that is giving us the power to do what we do.
And that's true. And who is that? And where is that? Who's, it says that he's situated in everyone's heart. Who is that in our heart?
Paramatma.
Paramatma. And he's directing our wanderings in this material world, or he's not so much directing, he's watching it and witnessing and letting us. That's one of the teachings. Parag got that one. And the other one is something that Prabhupada said from the very beginning. And if we don't understand this, we really can't make advancement in spiritual life.
We are not this body, but soul.
Haribo! There you go. We're on a machine made of material energy. We're like, we're like riding, we're the drivers of this machine. The machine's the body, and we got, you got headlights and you got ears and, you got everything there. And we're just driving this around, and we have a choice of where to drive to. And according to what our desires, Krishna will facilitate us. If we want to do some things that are really crazy and stupid, he may allow us to do that. But if we want to serve him, he'll help us do that too.
1865.
So one note here, and that is that Prabhupada is translating Maya as under material energy, but Maya in general is illusion, and illusion is not just in a material realm. Maya pervades the entire created world, and so it's other translators would translate this verse as saying as illusion.
Well,
or they keep it as Maya and let you figure out what Maya means.
Well, Maya is the material world is a form of Maya.
That's right. But it's not exclusive to material world.
Well, there's another Maya. Let's see. This is a good question, and Bill brought this up because he says that the material world's not the only Maya. There's another Maya. Who can get this one? This is a good question that Bill just opened the door to.
One is Yoga Maya.
Yoga Maya, and that energy. There's two Mayas, Yoga Maya.
One is Mahamaya and one is Yoga Maya.
So can you tell us the difference?
One is acting like a curtain between us and Krishna, like when we are really up to a pure stage, then only the curtain will open to have a darshan of Krishna. So and that is Mahamaya.
Mahamaya. So that's a bewildering. We can't see Krishna because we're in Maya. What's the other Maya?
Another one is Yoga Maya.
And that Maya is what?
Ritual energy.
That is spiritual energy.
And that energy also makes it impossible for people to understand Krishna is God too, because Mother Yashoda, because of Yoga Maya, just thinks Krishna is her baby. And it covers the relation between the actual relation between Krishna and the Jiva. Like
those who are in what is that stage? Like Mother Yashoda, that Yogamaya calls her consciousness that Krishna is the Supreme Lord,
Right.
so she can act as a mother.
How can you act as a mother to God? I mean, it's impossible. You'll be, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you have to think.
So Yogamaya helps in.
So everything is under Krishna's energy, and that could be called Maya. So Bill, you were right in one sense. You said everything is, there's this illusion. Krishna's creating the plays, either a spiritual play or a material play. And we have a choice. Do you want the material play or the spiritual play? And that's the process of Krishna consciousness, is to give up the material play to enter the spiritual play. But it's hard sometimes because we're so attached to the material play.
Isn't it?
And now there's another verse here, 1865. Can we go to that one? And this is something people say is the most important verse in the Bhagavad-Gita. Some commentators. Some say 1866, some say 1865. Yeah, 1865.
It is actually on the text, you know.
Oh yeah, well, that's fine.
Yeah. I just want to
You want to read it?
Okay. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madyachi manmana maskuru mame vashasi satyante pratijane priyosime. And this is, some commentators like Krishna is saying, consider this the most important verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. Very important verse.
So Prabhupada, he kind of paraphrases that by saying that it is clear from this verse of the Bhagavad Gita that the direction of the Lord is that one should be God-minded, a devotee of the Lord, a worshiper of the Lord, and should offer all obeisances unto the Lord. And if we do that, then actually
a devotee will undoubtedly go back to Godhead, back to home. Krishna is making that promise. So we're back again on the Bhagavatam, verse number 36.
Does anybody have any questions or comments just about our little adventure there into these verses and other things before we go on to the next paragraph? Thank you for the input from everybody. I guess we can go to the next paragraph, Gajendra Prabhu.
Indirectly.
Starting with indirectly.
Indirectly,
yes. I hear somebody kirtan back there.
That's not the end of the sentence, Gajendra Prabhu.
Gajen,
You're not
Prabhu, should I
to
read?
mark all the way to the end of the sentence.
Indirectly, it is said that the whole Vedic social construction of human society is so made that everyone acts as a part and parcel of the body of the Lord. The intelligent class of men, or the Brahmanas, are situated on the face of the Lord. The administrative class of men, the Kshatriyas, are situated on the arms of the Lord. The productive class of men, the Vaishyas, are situated on the belt of the Lord.
And?
Sorry, type.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And the laborer class of men, the Shudras, are situated on the legs of the Lord. Therefore, the complete social construction is the body of the Lord, and all the parts of the body, namely the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras, are meant to serve the Lord's whole body conjointly. Otherwise, the parts become unfit to be coordinated with the supreme consciousness of oneness.
Manish Prabhu?
Universal consciousness is factually achieved by coordinated service of all concerned, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that done That alone can ensure total perfection. Therefore, even the great scientists, the great philosophers, the great mental speculators, and great politicians, the great industrialists, and the great social reformer, etc., cannot give any relief to the restless society of the material world, because they do not know the secret of success as mentioned in this verse of Bhagavatam, namely that one must know the mystery of Bhakti Yoga.
Rinaji?
In the Bhagavad-Gita 7.15 also it is said, Na mam dushkritno mudah prapadyante naradamaha matya parata matya paharta jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Because the so-called great leaders of human society are ignorant of this great knowledge of Bhakti Yoga and are always engaged in ignoble acts of sense gratification, bewildered by the external energy of the Lord, they are stubborn rebels against the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they never agree to surrender unto Him because they are fools, miscreants, and the lowest type of human beings.
Mukesh?
Such faithless non-believers may be highly educated in the material sense of term, but factually they are the greatest fools of the world, because by the influence of the external material nature, all the so-called acquisition of knowledge has been made null and void.
Rinaji?
Yes, we are. Therefore, all advancement of knowledge in the present context of things is being misused by cats and dogs fighting with one another for sense gratification, and all acquisition of knowledge in science, philosophy, fine arts, nationalism, economic development, religion, and great activities are being spoiled by being used as dresses for dead men. There is no utility in the dresses used for covering a coffin of a dead body, save getting false applause from the ignorant public.
Gajendra Prabhu, can we stop right before the verse?
Yes, right here.
And then we'll go on to that verse. Yeah, just finish that one. Just that, stop right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Srimad Bhagavatam, the one more sentence.
Nishant?
I'll just read this one sentence. The Srimad Bhagavatam therefore says again and again that without attainment of the status of Bhakti Yoga, all activities of human society are failures only. And now, I think it sounds like Prabhupada, it's really pretty heavy here. I mean, he's pretty much saying that, that all these things that people do in the world are just absolutely useless. But why would he say this? On what basis do we say that all the things that people do in this world are useless?
Because the so-called great leaders have ignorance about Bhakti Yoga. They don't have knowledge about Bhakti Yoga. And therefore, they are always engaged in acts of sense gratification and fighting among each other and trying to achieve more wealth and fame and everything without actually looking at the spirituality. So,
and they keep accruing karma. Karma is endless. And as we put stop to the activities that create karma, we're going to be bound again and again and again and again in so many lives, one after another.
And in one way, we can see that it leads to a sort of life that just says more and more and more sense gratification, which leads to a lot of problems. Like, if people just didn't just think that sense gratification was the only goal, we would have a lot less problems. Like global warming would be less, and there would be less pollution, there would be less strife and exploitation, because people wouldn't be trying to simply squeeze everything out of everything and take advantage of people to just be, quote, happy by having more stuff.
Or pleasure,
or experiencing pleasure at other people's expenses. I mean, it is in the beginning of the of what we were reading, it talks about 4 different classes of persons and what they do. Does anybody know what those are?
7:15.
No, before that.
Before that.
We'll get to verse 7:15 in a moment. But in the very beginning, Prabhupada talks about the 4 different classes and what they represent for the human society.
In the Varnashram system.
Brahman, Vishya.
Brahman.
Yeah.
Vaishya, and Shudras.
Yes.
What does Prabhupada say why these are important? It's not
as they are the part of body of Krishna, like they are considered the limbs of Krishna.
They work together.
So when they work together, it's functioning well. But if they fall apart, they don't work together, then it is dysfunctioning of the body.
Prabhupada would say that you have to have all 4 things. In other words, if there's just a head and there's no body, there's no life. So the Brahmins have to have support from the arms and the belly and the legs. And if there's a head and there's a belly and legs, but there's no arms, then the body can't be defended. And if there's no legs, then the body can't move around, and there's no belly, then it can't feed itself. So each of these different classifications feeds the body politic, so to speak, allowing everybody to have a peaceful environment. But it's called Varnashram. This is the Varna part of the ashram, a Varnashram system. It's very important, but without it, society gets crazy. And then Prabhupada then speaks about this verse 7:15.
Let me see. The process of the system of Varnashram has one basic understanding of the supremacy of the Lord. In other words, people who are in the system of Varnashram traditionally are the Brahmas, the Kshatras, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras, understand that there is a supreme Lord, and that all the efforts and all the work is to be directed toward him. So each group is working according to their own capacity, but there is a sense of purpose and very, very clear understanding of the direction in which one should be moving. So there is no such a system that tells people why you exist, what your dharma is, and in what direction you're moving, and what is the goal of your existence. Whereas Varnashram gives the different groups that understanding. So it's a whole, harmonious whole that works in cooperation with the desire of the Supreme Lord. It's part of the Lord's body. So that's the big difference.
Can we pause here? Any questions or comments? Anybody add something here?
Well, I think you've heard me over the years about what I think about the Varnashrama and caste system, and the people I've met who have fled Hinduism, people from South Asia who have left Hinduism because they just can't.
Bill, one point I want to make. We're not talking about Hinduism.
Right,
Hinduism is a caste system, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a natural order that Krishna talks about. That
as long as it's clear that that's the context.
We're not talking about
really
trying to
terrible.
imply. No, we're not going to try to imply. We're not trying to to establish this. We're trying to make a point. The verse says, therefore, even great scientists, great philosophers, great mental speculators, great politicians, and the great industrialists, the great reformers, etc., cannot give any relief to the restless society of the material world because they do not know the great the secret of success. And so the point being is, the secret of success is to have a peaceful society where God consciousness is the center. And if you think it's something else, like, you know, more stuff or better internet or you know, whatever, you can name it. You can, you know, better stock market or whatever, you know, it's not going to be an answer.
What you're talking about, Bill, is a degradation of a natural system established by the Supreme Lord. That's what you're talking about. We're not talking about the degradation of the system. We're actually talking about the system, the pure system established by the Supreme Lord.
Philosophically.
We're not talking about the degradation. That's what you're talking about. They're two different things. They're two different things.
But now we can turn to this verse, Namam Duskritino Mudha, because this kind of talks about many of our leaders today. And this is a very strong verse. Prabhupada, I mean, Krishna is speaking this verse. He says, Namam Duskritino Mudha, Prapadyante Naradama, Mayaya Paritagyana, Asuram Bhavam Ashritaha. And he's giving 4 classes of people who just don't get it. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So
that's Krishna speaking.
This is Krishna speaking, and it's expanded in the purport. But let's talk about the first group, which is called Mudha, means foolish persons who are just engrossed in basically just getting ahead. You know, their life is just simply eating, sleeping, mating, defending, watching TV, whatever. You know, it's just their life is simply tamasic. And then lowest among mankind refers to persons, it's called Naradama, that may have very good qualities. But it's interesting because actually, Bill, you made a point the other day when we were out talking on the phone. You were talking about people into the classical music culture, and you were mentioning how there are a lot of very immoral activities going on within that community. And so this Naradama are people who appear to be very cultured, but their habits are really bad. And because their habits are really bad, they don't want to give those up. And therefore they're considered to be degraded. And then Mayaya Pratigyana, the people whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, those are like the scientists. They think they know everything. We have the telescope, the microscope, the oscilloscope, and this scope and that scope, and we don't see anything. Their knowledge is stolen by illusion. And the last group are people who are called asuras. They're just openly atheists who hate the idea that God exists. And these groups are the groups that don't surrender to God. And because we don't have good leaders, and many of our leaders are part of these groups, we have a world which is a little bit, or more than a little bit, chaotic. Gajendra, could you turn to verse 716 though? Because there's it also describes
the counterpart,
the people who do surrender to Krishna. Who maybe Saki Priya, can you read this verse?
Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna arto jignasa suartharthi jnani cha bharatarshabha. Oh, based among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute.
Counterpart.
So these are, you had the 4 that don't surrender. Now you have the 4 that do surrender.
That begin
to surrender. Who can talk about, who wants to describe at least one of those? The distressed.
Why?
Why would a distressed person surrender to Krishna?
Because he finds him helpless.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. who can think of a story in the Bhagavatam where a devotee who's distressed surrenders to Krishna?
Panchali.
Sorry.
Draupadi.
Draupadi.
Mm.
So Draupadi, you want to say, describe briefly that story, Shivaji?
Yes, Prabhuji. I mean, it's,
We know the story, but you can just elucidate a little bit.
yeah, the point I will say is that, like even Draupadi also, at the end, after a long time, she remembered Krishna. Had she remembered Krishna earlier, she would have been saved much earlier. The point is that only when she gave up, saying that, all right, I can't fight anymore, I'm in your surrender, only then Krishna came.
Yes.
So that's even a deeper point, that Krishna will come only when you are not there. If you are there, then Krishna is not there. You know.
Krishna's always there.
Krishna's always there, though.
Krishna's always
No,
there.
yeah, Krishna is
Don't
there
notice him.
for your, like, you know, for example, in that situation, Krishna, Yudhishthir told Krishna, like, you know, Duryodhana took the help of his mama, Sakuni, but Krishna was there for Yudhishthir to seek help, but he didn't, you know. So that's what I was saying, that like, till you think that, you know, you have the arrogance that you can handle everything on your own.
Well, he
then
may give you more and more distress until
once
you actually do give up. So that's
Yes.
So
Yeah, the
the
other
moral of the
story
story
is-
is, please surrender before you get too distressed. Let's do another one now. Decide who can tell a story. Yes. So what did Drew? Can you tell that story a little bit?
Dhruv Maharaj, he wants to be a king like his father, like, because his stepmother don't allow him to sit on a lap of his father. So he in anger, he says that I want to be more wealthier than my father and become a big king. So he goes in a forest and do the austerity to seek help from Vishnu. Like, his mother tells that only Vishnu can help you to get there. So he goes and do the austerity to have a darshan of Vishnu, and that's how. And when he sees Lord Vishnu, then he realized that what a fool I am. I was seeking for a piece of glass, and instead I could have got the like Vishnu's association.
So that's great. So he's desiring well, but does anybody know?
I was thinking Maharaj Parikshit.
That popped in my mind. Perfect. So can you tell a little bit about that?
So he was cursed that he has 7 days to live because he put a dead serpent on the neck of a saint and all that. So then he became inquisitive as to what can I do to redeem myself in the 7 days I have. And hence he sat down with Sukdev Goswami to find out what can he do. And then hence the Bhagavatam was recited.
Very good. We have all these great sages here tonight. And the last one, he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. I'm trying to think who that might be.
The cousin of Krishna, Uddhav Maharaj, Uddhavji.
Uddhava. Okay.
Uddhav, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good answer. He was definitely, Krishna spoke to him the Uttara-Gita, which is much longer even than the Bhagavad-Gita.
Bhagavatam, Canto 11.
And I'm also thinking that in the stories in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are stories of persons who for one reason, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, would be the four Kumaras.
Yeah.
Because the four Kumaras were wandering all over the universe, looking. They were Brahmavadis, and they were looking for for the highest truth, and they came to Vaikuntha, and that starts a whole nother story. So here we have so much knowledge right here in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam. It's so enlivening that we can all share this. Does anybody else have any comments or any questions or feedback about what we've covered tonight? I think we've probably come to the end of the rope here because we're almost out of time.
So Prabhuji, like, what I feel is something which is unique to human is to see within. All the animals and people and
yes,
capacity to look inward is what makes us unique and different. And if people are not doing that, then
and they're living what Prabhupada called a polished animal life.
Prabhupada has answered all the questions already. Yep.
Prabhupada said the dog is eating off a bowl on the floor, and you have a nice, golden bowl or a plate, but the eating process is more or less the same thing. If that's all you're living for.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So. Thank you so much. It's such a discussion tonight.
Yeah.
Gajendra, you have anything to add?
Yes, well, we have 5 minutes of kirtan.
The things that a lot of times we find ourselves working with what we have. And we're working in a situation that we find ourselves in. And however much, whatever got us there, we have to focus on playing the deck we're dealt. And
the deck you're dealt.
And because it's like when you're in distress, as it mentions here, you can use that distress to seek God.
Yes.
To become a higher being. And that's, we're in a drama, we're in an illusion.
Right.
That's what we're working with. And if we deny our situation, if we say, well, it's just illusion, we're not really this, then we don't get the lesson. We're not really understanding what's going on. I mean, it's easy to say it, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
That is correct. That is correct. Whatever is happening is not unreal. It's real, but it's temporary. You know what I'm saying? In other words, it's an illusion, but it's real. So like you're saying, we have to deal with what we have in order to make progress. But we also know that this situation is temporary. It's not going to last forever.
Yeah. If you're at a movie, it's actually real, but you really can't say you're going to stay there forever.
And once the movie is over, you realize that whatever you were saying, it was not there. All you had was a wall.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to get into a long discussion here, and Gajendra will never. These are all great points, but I think Gajendra wants to play his kirtan now, and we need to go there. Thank you for those
Thank you very much for
great
attending.
comments.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare
for-
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Maybe soon for some of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Bye.